After leaving the Grand Canyon, we went to Thousand Trails Verde Valley in Cottonwood, Arizona. In some ways, Verde Valley is indistinguishable from a national park or a state park in terms of the beauty of the scenery, and it has some great hiking. The cool thing about hiking right next to your campground is you can go at any time. You can wait till there's nobody on the trail. You can get a group together and go together, and then these trails are very easy. For Thousand Trails, this is a stunning campground, especially the top portion. Before we continue hiking, I just wanted to remind you to visit Sedona for more than one day. We made that mistake. It's absolutely gorgeous. And most Thousand Trails parks and most RV parks do not have hiking like this, but the ones that do, if I go to a campground that's got great hiking, then you'll see a video out there. For example, Yosemite Lakes, you can check out those hiking videos. Thousand Trails campgrounds are hard to explain because if you read the reviews, you'll often see some very hostile, angry, negative reviews. And then you'll see some glowing reviews, people saying it's amazing. And you'll think that, they're just campground people that are posting those, amazing reviews. And then actual customers are posting the others. And no, I think it's just that they're very site dependent. And if you're expecting an RV resort, they're often not that. When people find out that we're Thousand Trails members, they'll often ask the question, do you recommend Thousand Trails? For us, absolutely, it makes sense. For you, it might not. It's really dependent on what you're looking for. If you go out and camp, 2 or 3 times a year, then something like Thousand Trails doesn't make sense. But if you're a full-timer and you need full hookups and you want to be in various areas, Thousand Trails might be a good idea. We had a chance the prior year to go to Verde Valley, but we skipped it because some of the reviews were very negative on it. But then when you get there, you see these views, see this hiking. I'm glad we didn't pass it up this year. How is this view not a national park or a state park? If you travel extensively and you like to boondock and you're a Thousand Trails member, you can come here for a week, go out and boondock in Sedona for a week or two, come back here for a week. That's the great thing is the Thousand Trails gives you that flexibility. And the location it almost seems like it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's pretty close to Sedona. It's an easy day drive to the Grand Canyon, and it's a pretty easy day drive to Phoenix area. So it's pretty well situated in the middle of some, things that are going to be very interesting to many people. This campground really has 2 distinct areas. I mean, there's actually more than that, but there's really a top area, which is 50 amps, and you have to contact the office before you arrive. I would do it as soon as you make the reservation. Do it as early as possible. Unlike other Thousand Trails, if you want the 50 amp, you do have to pay $10 extra a day, I believe. The lower section has the benefit of having all the amenities, but it's 30 amp down there. And this is maybe a trend that a lot of Thousand Trails have, is a newer section with 50 amp with no trees, and an older section with trees and 30 amp. So it's pretty common. And pretty close to the campground is a winery, and I believe they have horseback riding and I think other events there, so you definitely check that out. There's also a great national monument that's pretty close, and I'll show you that next. And if you look to the distance from here, no, this is not Bryce Canyon. This is Sedona. This gives you an idea of what the upper area with 50 amp and no facilities looks like, and then the lower area, which has the pool, the clubhouse, and trees, and 30 amp. After Montezuma Castle National Monument, I'll do a final walk around with you at this campground and show you when some snow was coming. It didn't get to the campground, but we saw snowing in the mountain areas. Montezuma Castle National Monument is definitely worth seeing. It's not a very long walk. It's maybe a mile hike on paved access, and there's a pretty decent visitor center. So this is definitely a worthy place to go. Day before, we watched the snow fall in the mountains, and I went out for a hike the next day on the northern part of the campground and just checked it out. The next day we left the Cottonwood area and went to Mesa, Arizona, and got to visit Lost Dutchman State Park and to stop off and see our hometown Tampa Bay Rays play the Arizona Diamondbacks. This state park has a hike in a field that's very similar to the Chisos Basin. I brought my family this time, so we didn't do the extensive hike, didn't go up into the mountains, but we did go in and, maybe a mile or two and then turn around. We got to see our hometown Tampa Bay Rays take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. They have a cool stadium that's roof was closed before the game, and then right before the game started, they opened the roof. And the Rays went down a couple of runs, but then they came back at the end, so it was a pretty cool thing to go see a game, especially with your hometown team somewhere else. Our time was up in the Phoenix area, so we headed towards Palm Springs, Thousand Trails. Palm Springs was just a short stop off before we went up to the Mount Whitney Portal area and stayed at the Lone Pine Campground. But we did have a chance to stop and go to Joshua Tree National Park. If you're in the Palm Springs area, one of the great things to do is to head over to Joshua Tree National Park. I've heard people have mixed reviews of Joshua Tree National Park, but I think it's really a cool park to visit. It has the unique Joshua trees, but it also has a lot of unique rocks and geology there, and some pretty cool hikes. We have been to Joshua Tree before and didn't get to see this great overlook. This overlooks Palm Springs from a higher altitude. This is definitely a good area to go up and check out this view. And you can see the mountaintops on the other side of Palm Springs. There's a state park up there, and there's like a tram or a trolley that goes up. It's I think a ski lift. I've got video from last year when we went there. I'll put that in this video too. So to get up to the state park, you have to get on a tram, or I guess you could technically hike up to it. It might take half a day to hike up to it, but the tram is the famous rotating tram. Okay, I just looked up. The hike is a 10,000 foot elevation hike, and it's considered one of the most difficult day hikes in the United States. So half a day is probably a bad estimate. It might be like 3 days for me. But if you take the tram, it's 12 minutes. So this is the view from the other side, San Jacinto, looking back at Joshua Tree and viewing Palm Springs. Now we're back at Joshua Tree National Park at the overlook. Palm Springs Thousand Trails was just a stopover, and now we're heading to Lone Pine, taking 395 north. It's not a straight shot. You have to drive through, I guess it's the east side of Los Angeles, go through the mountains, and then you can meet up with 395 north. Once you get north of the mountains, the traffic clears out and the road becomes wide open. California is one of the most beautiful and diverse states in the country. It's absolutely beautiful on 395. This is our first time in the Mount Whitney Portal area, and we also plan to go to Alabama Hills, Manzanita Internment Camp, go out to Death Valley National Park, and just would like to see the whole area. Before we get there, we need to stop off and make some calls. In the next video, I'll show you the Lone Pine campground hike, the Whitney Portal area, and we'll go to Death Valley National Park. Thank you for now.